Welcome, friends and family, to another episode of the Backdoor Cut Show. You can find us on Twitter at Backdoor Cut Show. You can subscribe to our podcast anywhere you find podcasts by following the Barn Burner Podcast Network. You can find me personally. I'm Zach on Twitter at BarnBurnerBro. And with me today, I got Mason. You can find him on Twitter at BarnBurnerSlim. How you doing, dude?
Oh man, I am good. I am all in the mood, as you can see by this shirt. Shout out to Fast Break Breakfast for this all heart grit and grind throwback to the Vancouver style jerseys, which we got to see the Memphis Grizzlies in for the first time last night against the Showtime Lakers. And I gotta say, man, I think that new court, old court, is probably the best one in the NBA. Like it was very aesthetically pleasing. The border of it is just so intricate. That's my favorite court in the NBA, hands down. And I mean, you got to love the throwback jerseys. I know some people are against it, but they were the rage all over NBA Twitter last night. People were talking about our court and our uniforms. So, man, what a night. Did you go to the game?
Yeah, Sam and I went to the game, and like you said, it looked clean. Like, it looked so good. It did take a minute to get used to the teal jerseys because you're used to watching guys in blue and white and then just trying to sort out who's who with the new colors and everything. But the court itself was fresh. Like, it looked very good. I was very pleased. The whole night was really well done. They did 90s throwback music the whole time. It was just really cool. It was a really fun game, and I think they did really good by waiting until it was a big opponent to do it. Not trying to promote that as the main event, the throwback, but to incorporate it into an already big night.
Yeah, and I mean, last week we had the Friday game on ESPN, and this week almost felt just as big as Conley's return because we were unveiling new court and jerseys and playing against the Lakers, who happen to have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So all eyes were definitely via League Pass in Memphis. And hey, it was great that the guys fought hard, bounced back from getting their asses kicked 2 games in a row to the Nuggets and then to the Warriors, which I don't think any of us really expected to see, but it's going to happen with this team. It's probably hard to get up for a game in the middle of the week against the Warriors, who have no one, and then you got a couple of days of no games. It was really a weird week. Like, we only played on Tuesday and Saturday, so a lot of downtime. I'm sure they were in the gym working on things. But Saturday night, all eyes were in Memphis, and unfortunately, we couldn't come out with the win. I'll kind of let you take us through the game, but it was great to see Jaren Jackson making shots early. For whatever reason, we don't get him the ball in the fourth quarter. And then Ja Morant, just a superstar. I mean, he had 4 or 5 highlight plays in last night's game alone. You're seeing these clips on Slam. Like, every Twitter account is retweeting Ja Morant highlights. And it's just great to see. He had 26 points, went toe-to-toe with LeBron and AD, and almost pulled out the win. So, fun night.
Yeah, Morant was playing so free. He was just the game looked like it was coming so easy to him. The way he was dribbling, getting into the paint, his passes were crisp. Now, he did, when Rondo was guarding him, that was kind of his kryptonite for the game. Of course, I mean, Rondo's known for that. He's, crafty defender, wily veteran. So he played pretty well on Morant, but Morant just had his way with almost everyone. He made KCP look like a fool like 3 or 4 times. It was awesome. But the Grizzlies started out hot, hitting everything from 3, getting up pretty big. It was definitely one of those games where it's like, we're up too much too soon. This is going to come back down to earth. So, I mean, something I've literally seen 100 times that I can't get too excited about it. I sat in that same seat, seen that exact same thing happen. But this time, they didn't let it get out of hand. They hung around. Were right there at the end, made a couple of bad turnovers. LeBron and AD, did superstar things to close out the game. We missed a couple opportunities, but overall, it was the most fun game of the season. I think it was honestly more fun than last week's Mike Conley return when I think about the actual basketball game.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, like we mentioned, Ja had highlight play after highlight play when he went behind the back and whipped it to the corner. He had the reverse layup where he looked like he was going to try to slam another one home and switched hands and laid it up with the left hand. Just big time play after big time play. Even Brandon Clark got in on the action late. He had that tip in, which was a huge bucket. I think we started off 8 of 8 from 3 is what you were referring to, us being hot. And then we had a 16-point lead. So for a second, I was thinking, oh, man, this feels kind of similar to when we played the Lakers in L.A. And then the third quarter came, and it was just a Anthony Davis avalanche, mainly of free throws and rebounds. But that's when he had 40 and 20. And it didn't happen this time. So you see the team played with pride. Even after the game, Ja Morant's like, yeah, we would like to win, but I'm proud of how we played, especially coming off these last 2 games and the last time we played the Lakers. So to see that fight and them being in – listen, the Lakers are the best team in the NBA right now.
Yeah.
So these young guys being in that situation, and we saw Ja, Brandon Clark, and Jaren Jackson all on the court to close out the game. So that's our 3 future pillars of the organization, and it's just good to see them getting that experience. And over time, you hope that they just can win more of those games in the clutch situations than we lose.
Yeah, and it was just so much fun, and being there and that, just being close at the end of the game just means so much. And you can't expect us to get every single one of those close games. When the Grizzlies had their 3-game winning streak, those games were all very close margins, and we were able to sneak away with those 3. This time it didn't happen, but you know what? The more times that we're in that situation, the more we'll be prepared for the future when those games actually mean something.
Yeah, and I think it's got to play to the team's confidence.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, shit, we just got whooped by the Nuggets and then got spanked by Golden State unexpectedly. Like, none of them expected to take the court that night and take that L in the manner that they did. So now you get this game against the best team in the league, and you kind of get some confidence back, your swagger back. Like, okay, we can play with anybody. And you just hope that they can continue to build on that and just put longer runs of sustained success together. And like those blowout games are going to happen throughout the year. Young team and Jay Crowder, Ja Morant, they all referenced it. It was just due to lack of energy is why we got blown out in those games. Mm-hmm. Not enough effort on Jamal Murray early in the Nuggets case, and in the Warriors case, it was just total lack of effort. I tried to watch the condensed game on NBA TV. It was over in like 8 minutes, and it was just like all Warriors buckets. I was like, well, that didn't miss too much of that one.
This is all you need to know. It sucks.
Do you got the stats for the Lakers game last night?
Yeah, so something that we've been waiting for pretty much all season is that this was the first game of the year where Jaren and Ja both had 20 or more points.
Hallelujah, baby. Let's go.
I think that is a monumental occasion for us. Jaren had 20 and 7, 2 steals and a block, and Ja had 26, 6 assists, and 5 steals, shooting 62.5% from the field. That was Ja.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
and Ja and Jaren led the team in shot attempts with 16 apiece. I mean, we went toe-to-toe with the Lakers, and that felt really good. Sam and I left the game, and we're like, you look at everything, wire to wire, rebounds, threes, everything is so equal. We were like, what? How did we actually lose that game? Because we had them beat in most categories, but in the end, it just came down to some free throws. Not necessarily at the end of the game, but just during the course of the game, they made more free throws. So, but outside of that, we outdueled them in a lot of areas.
Yeah, it seemed like we had more turnovers, at least down the stretch. Maybe that's off, but it seemed like we had just more costly turnovers, which is expected from a young team. But another thing I would like to see more in the fourth quarter is it was the Ja Morant show. But I would like for and this is just back to the chemistry between him and Jaren. I think Jaren only had 2 points in the fourth quarter, so 18 prior to that. And you just really didn't see Jaren involved at all. And so I looked at some stats, and Jaren is leading us in spot-up 3-point attempts per game. And he's making 47% of them, so it's pretty damn good. His 3-point shooting is really came along. I believe he's shooting like 5 or 6 per game. Over the past 2 weeks, he was shooting 51% from 3 on 6 attempts per game. So that's really kind of that fits with what the Taylor Jenkins system is, right? Like I've been calling for Jaren to get the ball in the post more, and maybe that's just not what Taylor Jenkins has in mind. He wants his best player because Jaren is the second best spot-up shooter according to Synergy behind Dylan Brooks. Dylan shooting 50% on spot-up attempts. Man. Then Jaren's right there at 47. So it makes sense that Jenkins wants one of his best players firing up threes instead of mid-range or post-up twos, which are known in the analytics community as taboo. Even though we do lead the NBA in short mid-range shots attempted, despite this revolutionary offense.
Yeah, and we were leading the league in points in the paint at one point. I don't know if that's still the case now, but as recent as last week, that was the case.
Yeah, and with the personnel, you think about Kyle Anderson, Brandon Clark. That's kind of where they're making their hay is right in those short mid-range attempts. Even Ja, we've seen Ja not go all the way to the rim and start to shoot that little floater, which has been effective. So as long as he's making it, I don't have any problems with him taking it. But we know Jenkins wants them to let that motherfucker fly from beyond the arc.
Exactly. And speaking of highlight plays, Ja had plenty of them. They were all awesome. Kyle Anderson had one of the best plays of the game where he had a behind-the-head pass. I think it might have been, I don't know who it was to, but he was driving down the paint. It was towards the end of the game. And he threw it behind his head.
Yeah.
I appreciated that a lot.
Yeah, Kyle's been good, man.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, anything else on that game? Hopefully we have several more nights like that. I don't expect it to be like that every time I walk in the Forum. I expect more of them to be kind of like how the Dallas game was, but the more of these that will await us there, the happier fans will be in general.
For sure.
So, earlier this weekend, Woj and Zach Lowe collaborated on an article to talk about how the NBA is really considering some schedule changes. So they got to work it with Players Association and broadcast partners. But kind of the gist of what they're trying to do is, so I guess like ratings aren't doing super well. Doris Burke said on Zach Lowe's podcast earlier that really a lot of people kind of our age and even younger are watching, they're watching the House of Highlights, recaps, they're watching the pregame shows with all the highlights and everything, but they're not watching the actual basketball games. So that's great for a whole bunch of content providers, or content creators, but not so much the NBA. That's not benefiting them as directly as they would like. So some of the ideas that the league office is going to bring before the Players Association, and they're like collaborating with a bunch of different people.
Can I just propose one idea before you get started?
Yeah.
How about we take these garbage-ass teams off of national television once we realize they're going to be garbage? That might help, taking the Pelicans and Lakers off. I mean, well, Lakers back when they were garbage, but the Warriors now. Like, let's go ahead and just flex those guys off of TV and put some good games on that people actually want to see. I know that's a crazy idea, putting the best teams on television, but it just might work.
Yeah, I'm sure, like...
Did you just slam some coffee?
Like the NBA should reserve a right to modify their schedule or something. I don't know. But if it benefits everyone, then there's got to be, I don't know, all the legal around that. But yeah, you're going to get a 0 if you got like Pelicans playing like crap and then they're playing like, I don't know, the Knicks or something.
Only people just flex those games and, that might fix your problem. But anyway, since that's clearly not on the table, what are they planning to institute, Zach?
All right, so they are talking about cutting the season by a couple games to like 78 maybe from 82.
Oh,
But
big change.
yeah, right. I don't think that's going to impact anything whatsoever on load management or any of their other objectives necessarily. But the interesting thing is that they're talking about doing a mid-season tournament with all the teams.
Okay.
So the way that was proposed in this article from sources is that it would probably run from the November to like mid-December timeframe. They don't want to encroach on. They don't want to go past that because you've got a lot of more people are getting traded and you're getting closer to the deadline. They don't want to encroach on Christmas and they want to do it after Thanksgiving.
So it sounds like they're trying to wait for the NFL season to be close to over.
Yeah, they don't want to mess with the playoffs there.
Okay.
They don't want to compete with that.
All right, I'm listening.
So they're talking about doing. Let me check my notes. Divisional, like a group stage, kind of similar to the World Cup. So those games would be included in your regular season. So I guess particular games on the season would count towards your seeding in this mid-season tournament.
So when we were playing Dallas, Houston, New Orleans, or San Antonio, some of those games would be earmarked for this midseason cup.
From my understanding, yeah.
Gotcha.
Then you would have the six divisional winners, so they would automatically qualify.
Okay, because there's 3 divisions in each conference.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
And then the next two teams in each conference.
Okay.
So no, it was 8. So the next best team in each conference to provide a 4th team from each conference. So 8 total. And then play single elimination. So you could add up to that'd be 3
4
extra games.
Okay.
And then another thing they were talking about doing is a play-in for the 8th seed of the playoffs.
And how would they do that?
So 7 and 8 would play each other. The winner of that game. So 7 and 8 meaning the team that has the 7th and 8th best record during the regular season. They'd play each other in a 1 game. Whoever wins that game would be the 7th seed. The 9th and 10th team would play each other, and the winner of that game would play the loser of the 7-8 game. So if you're the 10th seed, you could potentially squeak in to be the 8th seed. Same for the 9, I guess, too.
Okay. On that, I wonder what the discrepancy is between like the 7 seeds win total and the 10 seed over the last 10 years, because it seems like a lot of times maybe teams are fighting for 8 and 9, but that 10th team is almost in tank mode. So maybe that should just be for 8 and 9. That would be my first argument on that. But then back to the mid-season tournament, what do you get from winning it? Or is it just another trophy, but not the Larry O'Brien? It's going to be like the Adam Silver trophy or something. Is that or do you get like playoff seeding or?
No, and then there'd be like additional financial compensation for it.
Oh.
Which I don't know how much of an impact that would make towards what these guys are already making.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, I'm not totally against the idea.
So we'll talk a sec. I got some ideas that I put together on how I think would be entertaining.
And I'll listen, but I think the NBA is pretty damn good as it is right now. So maybe I'm kind of being old school in my ways of not wanting to change, but I'm not totally against it, but I am skeptical that this would be needed. But now I'll listen to your ideas. I'm keeping an open mind. So what you got, Zach?
So I think this would keep a lot more. I don't know. Hopefully, keep like a lot more people entertained. Just be something different, mix things up. So I think about the 2 most exciting tournaments in the world. So, in my opinion, I guess the World Cup. I think probably most of the world thinks that that's the most exciting. And then March Madness. To me, those are two very, very highly anticipated, hallmark events.
Yep.
So let me see. You'd probably want to cut the season down a little bit more to 75-ish games if you can get it there. Obviously, there's money implications, so that's probably the biggest barrier to that.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking of a load management standpoint. The guys who are utilizing load management, those superstars, are in that they're playing around 70 to 75 games anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
So the first 6 weeks of the season, you would kind of do the same type of group stage. So all your in-division games would count towards your seeding in this tournament. So you could play each team, say that's 20 games, and you could play each team, the other 4 teams in your division, home and home. So you'd get a pretty good barometer of where everyone is in division. Then the different part is you have 4 regionally hosted tournament sites. Like in brackets, like March Madness bracket, you have a predetermined location, and then they seed the teams based on kind of their region and assign them to different areas. So that way you've got 4 different areas and 4 teams in each area. So my tournament has 16 teams. So that would be like Memphis is going to have
New Orleans, Atlanta, Charlotte.
Yeah, we'll have 2 games or we could have 2 games on Saturday, and then the championship for the region could be on Monday or something. And then you could play a regular schedule that week, and then maybe come back the following week. And then another location would host the Final Four, and you do the same thing over again. So that kind of combines March Madness and World Cup.
It seems like it's a little much. It seems like it's a little much. And I don't know what the answer is, but I'm just not really all into the idea of a midseason tournament. I know it's what the Euro leagues do, especially mainly when it refers to soccer.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not in tune with the ratings of the NBA as much as the people who are making making the decisions to try to implement these changes. So, and I'm sure they've done their research. Maybe it will help. We do have to remember that the NBA now is a vastly global game and doesn't just appeal to those of us in the United States. So there is a broader thought process going into this. And by broader, I mean like across the world, global thought process going into this. So if they think that is going to attract more fans and offset the China issue, maybe that's what we got to do. So
that's definitely looming, I'm sure.
But for a league that is continually innovative and fresh in their ideas for the most part, except when it comes to all-star voting and the playoffs, those are kind of the 2 things that we've seen remain constant throughout the course of the NBA. Adam Silver's a good man. I believe he's got the best interest in the league at heart. So if they do decide to go with it, I won't be up in arms. But I'm not clamoring for this drastic change. Even if they're saying it's not super drastic, I feel like it's going to change some things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably a tweak every few years, try to figure something out. Like 10 years down the road is when you would have a more finished product. Yeah. I think whatever they come out with first is probably going to be pretty weird. Teams won't know how to handle it. How do you put, like, how much do you care about those games as opposed to your other regular season games? Do you care about them at all, or are they throwaway games?
So I'm just not in favor of putting more stressful games on the schedules for players. And if they wanted this tournament to mean something, then it would undoubtedly mean more stressful minutes for these players who are already undergoing load management. I would be more in favor of something like a G League tournament or a 23 and under tournament in the middle of the season, and you can't play anyone who's been named all rookie first team or been named to the Rising Stars game. And then if you win that tournament in the middle of the season or finish in the top 4, you get to add a roster spot for the rest of the year or something like that. So you can have the advantage to sign another young guy, or you get an additional 2-way or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think the answer is asking the star players to care about a whole nother tournament and then put more stressful minutes on their body when we already are aware that injuries are a reason for the ratings decline. I mean, we have no Kevin Durant right now. You know, he attracts television audience. We have no Steph, Clay. Like, there's a reason why the ratings are down. In addition to, I don't think that it's just like people aren't watching the NBA or not caring, but I think injuries are playing into a factor. I think the good teams being on the West Coast has played into a large factor. If you live on the East Coast, you're not getting to see LeBron James. You weren't getting to see Golden State as much. And that's why we saw the NBA bump up the times for those games prior to this year. So it's probably something that, like, I don't even think about it on a daily basis, but the games are starting 30 minutes or an hour earlier. So that's my take on it. I'm in favor of something that makes you play the younger guys more and maybe gives them more stressful minutes, but rewards the team in season with an extra roster spot or extra cap space or something like that to sign a player for the stretch run.
And what could be done? So what could happen is that, say you do this tournament, it could be seen as a reason for the superstars to just chill, and that would give the younger guys an opportunity to play more.
Yeah.
So that could be seen as like a mid-season load management, some downtime for them.
Yeah, but then we would get into the do the tournament games reflect your overall record? How does that work? Because if we're playing them as divisional games, then in theory that would count to your overall season records, which matter for the playoffs. So a lot of intricacies to it, but like I said, I am open to some form of change.
Yeah, and I mean, whatever happens, I'm going to watch.
And with the G League continuing to grow, I mean, we've seen 2-way contracts added here in the past 2-3 years. We've seen more and more teams get that direct affiliation. I would just be in favor of something for the younger guys, and I don't know. We'll see. I guess we'll see. What have you been able to get a gauge on what the national feedback is on this? What some of our favorite NBA writers are kind of thinking about it? Are they in favor of it or no?
I haven't yet. They posted this particular article over the weekend, so not too many people have been writing or recording anything since then. But I'd imagine it's probably going to be a pretty hot topic, in the next few days. Yeah. We're just on the cutting edge over here.
Hey, that's what happens when you record on Sundays, baby. I got some Grizzlies stats, some overall team stats. And these are from Cleaning the Glass, which Cleaning the Glass takes out the garbage time. And it might be a blessing or a curse for the Grizzlies. Yeah, and the Nuggets games. So anytime we're getting blown out and those avalanche occurs, Cleaning the Glass is a nice friend and just acts like those didn't happen. So these stats are from when we are actually in the games. Offensively, we are 27th in points per possession on Cleaning the Glass. We are 25th in turnover percentage and 30th, which is dead last in free throw rate. So offensively, we're not looking too hot. But let's go to the defensive side because we've been in some games. So surely that side of the ball has got to be a little bit better. And, well, I mean, it kind of is. We're 23rd in points per possession given up. We're 25th in turnover percentage, and that's turnovers forced. And we're 26th in free throw rate. And so that would be the free throws we allow. Not good. And we're 25th in shots allowed at the rim.
Ooh.
Also not good. I think we're only 23rd in shot making at the rim defensively. So, hey, we block them every now and then. Yeah. So I say that to say when we are looking at this Grizzlies team, we have to remember that we're not good. We're like
synopsis.
Like and that's why we're gonna have those games where we get blown out, and that's why it's so important to like treasure those ones when they compete hard, or even beat a Utah, beat Kyrie and Brooklyn, compete with the Lakers, because that's really the takeaways from the season. You got any stats for us?
No, not today.
All right, I'll keep going. So as I mentioned earlier, we're first in short and mid-range attempts. We're 7th overall in mid-range shots attempted, and to that, we're 4th in mid-range shots made. So we're taking a lot, we're making a lot. Not the end of the world, but it does go against the philosophy that Taylor Jenkins and the staff is trying to implement. Conversely, we're 24th in three-pointers attempted per cleaning the glass, and we're 20th in three-point shooting accuracy, which seems like a step up from years past, like
it's better than like 28, 29, where we've been hanging out for the past few years.
And the crazy thing is, and as a fan of low post ball and getting Jaren Jackson the ball on the post, I have to admit, when we're making three-pointers, like, we're competitive. We saw what happened in that Lakers game. We've seen us compete with some other big-time teams. So when we have the personnel to actually run this system, hey, what do you think about Brandon Ingram? I think he's going to be a free agent. You think Ja Morant, Brandon Clark, and Jaren Jackson are doing enough to woo him to Memphis?
Ooh, and then we get that top 3-4 pick.
Ooh. I'm not against it, Zach. I'm not against it.
No, sir.
I mean, and what makes it so great is we have Brandon Clark on the roster, and he's better than any of us could expect it. And our 2 draft picks, despite where you're at on Jaren, they're franchise cornerstones. I don't think anyone will argue with us against that. And let's look at some of our rookie stats with Ja and BC. Ja Morant leads rookies in points per game and assists per game. He's averaging 19.1 points and 6 assists.
Wow.
Do you know which rookie is leading the NBA in rebounding?
Oh. Rookie leading the NBA in rebounding.
You saw him play Saturday night.
Oh, geez.
Brandon Clark, dude.
Oh, that was a trick question.
So we got the leading rookie in points per game and assists per game in Ja, and then the leading rookie rebounder in Brandon Clark.
And he's only playing like 20 minutes a game, isn't he?
Yeah, so Brandon is 14th in minutes for rookies, and Ja is 7th. Ja is 3rd in steals. Brandon is 9th in scoring amongst all rookies, and he's 3rd in field goal percentage. He's trailing only Chris Silva, the big guy from Miami, who I assume all he does is dunk, and Jackson Hayes, who I'll also assume all he does is dunk. So Brandon Clark's game is a little more versatile than them. He's 3rd in field goal percentage. And Brandon Clark's in the 98th percentile in the roll man for all NBA players. So he's really been impressive. And in the pick and roll, he scores 78% of the time as the roll man, a little bit better than Jaren Jackson. So just because Jaren Jackson's scoring 50% of the time when he's the roll man. But like we mentioned, Jaren Jackson might just be a 3-point shooter now. So
he's a wing, dude.
that's my rookie recap for Ja and Brandon Clark. Just you think about it, Zach, and when we went into the draft lottery, we were thinking best case scenario was give that pick away, and then we come out, we win the lottery. Literally win the lottery because we got the 2nd pick in Ja Morant.
Yeah.
And he's leading rookies in scoring and assists. And then we get the 21st pick in the Mike Conley trade. We get another hidden gem in Brandon Clark, who is leading the rookies in rebounding. And then we have like the youngest sophomore in the league in Jaren Jackson, who's wetting it up from 3 and kind of coming into his own. So, hey, it's an exciting time to be a Grizzly.
There's plenty of stuff to look forward to. No doubt.
We just can't get caught up in the wins and losses right now.
No, you can't go on Grizz Facebook after one of those losses either.
Or everyone's one of those wins. Man, we can make the playoffs. Like, no, we can't.
We're on track to win like 25 games still.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're doing better than I expected. And I think that's a great thing for the franchise. As long as we can win games right now, I'm all for trying to win those games. And if it becomes apparent down the stretch that we're going to be, in the race for one of the top picks and we need to tank, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, to quote the chief.
We need Fizdale to help us out and steal a couple W's up in New York. But to speak about Brandon Clark real quick, so I don't know who I owe full credit to, but Zach Lowe mentioned it in his 10 things last week, and then Chris Harrington mentioned it in his recap yesterday. So he may have said this previously, not sure. But someone has coined Brandon Clark's shot. His one-handed, like straight up in the air, standstill floater, I guess you could call it, as a pogo stick shot.
That's pretty good.
I thought that was pretty good.
I mean, he's quick, down and up quick. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it.
So that's a good use of words there by professional journalists. That's good.
We expect nothing less from Harrington and Zach Lowe.
Nope, sure don't. So who else you been watching? Obviously a lot of Grizz. What are a couple other teams you've had your eye on League Pass?
Well, being out here in Rancho Cucamonga, I've been watching the Clippers because the Lakers are taking off of my cable provider. So that's my only team to watch is the Clippers. And I mean, just with Kawhi and Paul George finally seeing some time on the court together, to go with Lou Will, Montrezl Harrell, Pat Beverly, that team is fun, man. And it doesn't feel right rooting for a Clippers team, but it's really hard to not like the current version of the LA Clippers. Lou Williams was on the podcast, All the Smoke, with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, which I'm sure you're a huge fan of. If I know you like I think I do. And he was just they asked him who was like some of the younger guys that he was impressed with. Uh-huh. And he said Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, of course, was his teammate last year before the trade to acquire Paul George. And the second one was Ja Morant. And his description of Ja Morant was, that motherfucker cold. So if we win the hearts of Lou Will, that's cool with me. Definitely enjoyed watching him play. And if you should go check out that podcast. He also mentioned the time when he met Penny Hardaway as a senior in high school, and Penny just brushed him off.
Oh.
And Lou, being a Memphian, Penny was like his favorite player of all time, and he said he's not in his top 3 anymore after that. He said they talked to clear things up, but still just left a bad taste in his mouth.
Some drama.
So I say the Clippers have been the number one team I've been watching, and then kind of a league pass team that I've been drawn to is the Miami Heat. Like, dude, they just have random guys down there playing. They drafted Kendrick Nunn, and I think he's second in rookies in scoring per game. Or no, they didn't draft him. He went undrafted. And they've got him, Tyler Herro, and Jimmy Buckets, and just a fun team. They play hard. So those are the two teams I've been drawn to, as well as, of course, our boy Mike Conley. I haven't been watching the Raptors, but I have been watching the Jazz quite often. And I think it's because I know Mark already got his ring, so like he can just – I don't really worry about him anymore. And Mike's been struggling, so I've been kind of watching him to hope I can give him that good juju to kind of get it together, and the Jazz can get going. But the Jazz are a pretty fun team to root for, unless they're playing the Grizzlies.
Yeah, they'll figure things out towards the end of the season. Ingles is playing terrible right now, and he's not going to do that the whole season.
I mean, they're still like top 4 or 5 in the West. So
yeah.
What about you? Who you been watching?
So you mentioned the Raptors. That is actually someone who I've been trying to catch.
I was wondering if you were still on the Raptors bandwagon.
Not even so much to watch Mark, but just watching Siakam develop. Like, that guy is legit. He's just taken over right for this season. He's averaging 25, 8, and 4 assists, and he's shooting 37% from 3. Like, he's just developed into such an impressive player. And they've got a lot of injuries right now. And so that's kind of also something to watch. They got Ibaka, Lowry, Patrick McCaw, Stanley Johnson. All those guys are out. So they're digging deep in their pockets to pull up guys. They've got 16 guys that have seen minutes. Someone I saw the other day that was pretty intriguing, Chris Boucher.
Yeah. Yep.
He's a fun guy to watch. He's got double figures in 5 of the 8 games that he's played more than just scrub time in. He's thin as a rail, but like dude can play.
Yeah, I saw him. I think it was the Clippers game. Maybe he was playing big time defense. You know what's crazy about Siakam though is a lot of these national writers are saying he might win Most Improved Player again.
Yeah.
Like what? That's unheard of. But I mean, that's fucking cool. Like that's what we watch this league for, is because, as Chris Vernon always says, you might always see something that you've never seen before. Anytime you go to a game, anytime you watch a full season, that's what we love. What about anyone else other than your beloved Raptors?
My beloved Raptors. I ironically, you joke that they're beloved. I still have them under one of my ESPN teams that like sends me alerts from last year.
You know how I know that? Because I still have your ESPN login for your ESPN Plus. And when I go to your favorite teams, I'm like, what the
hell? Okay, so you've been doing your homework on me.
Hey.
So another one, I think probably a lot of people are watching Dallas. Like just watching Luka be crazy. So I saw him in person last week when KP didn't play, and he just, in 3 quarters, just torched us. Calmly, coolly, like it's no effort at all. He's just shooting over the top of folks. He doesn't move that fast. His passing is on point, though. Everyone's got to collapse on him, so he's he's executing on all his passing seams. I mean, that guy's impressive. He's setting all these kinds of triple-double records and, in MVP talk. I mean, he's got to be, to me, he's like top 5 MVP candidate right now just because everything that Dallas has, there's not that many other guys playing super well. Porzingis is doing okay, but Luka is carrying that entire team.
I mean, I think if you would have asked Luka Doncic before the draft 2 years ago if he imagined this in his second year, there's no way he would say yes. Like, even his biggest fan, like Luka's mom, dad, they could not have imagined this. It's unreal. It is completely unfathomable. And I mean, I wish he would have dropped to 4 in the draft last year. Like, luckily the Grizzlies don't have to live with that regret. Like, Phoenix and Sacramento and Atlanta do. But I mean, it's not even close between Luka and Trae Young. Like, people still trying to build Trae Young up. Like, hell no. And if I'm being honest, I prefer Ja Morant over Trae Young as well in the long term.
Yeah, I like the athleticism of Morant is just really intriguing.
I haven't caught the Trae Young league pass fever like everyone else has, or everyone else seems to have caught it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm missing out. I'm probably missing out.
I haven't watched too much either. When he was out for his injury for a second, then I kind of stopped watching.
But I tuned into Luka. I watched him today against the Rockets. Like, go ham in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, 41 points. Like, that just doesn't happen every game. But if you watch them, and the odds are like 75% of the time, it's gonna.
I mean, he's an MVP candidate in his second season, and you can't even really argue that. Like, he's at least top 5 right now.
Yeah.
And that's giving him the short end of the stick, saying top 5. So, man, what incredible. Hate that we're missing Bagley and Ayton and Jaren Jackson when he's on the bench with fouls.
So 80% of the self-imposed injuries.
Hey, but he's been better. He really has been better
these
last couple of weeks, and he's going to continue to improve. Him and Josh's chemistry is going to continue to get better. Do you know what our schedule looks like for this week from the Grizzlies standpoint? Because we know, I mean, we just played 2 games in like a whole week, so hopefully we got 3 or 4 this week to get us through the holiday weekend. Everyone's going to be with their families. Hope y'all have a safe Thanksgiving. Zach and I will probably be back with the Tigers podcast Tuesday to recap the Tigers win over Ole Miss, the Memphis football win over South Florida, and then preview the game at the Barclays Center against NC State. So stay on the lookout for that this coming Tuesday. You got the Grizzlies schedule for us?
Yeah. So you are gonna get your wish tomorrow. That being Monday at Indianapolis against the Pacers. Then we host.
Been playing well. That's a good team. Shouldn't be hard to get up for.
Then we host the Clippers on Wednesday.
Shit. Okay.
And then Mike Conley's back again on Friday. Then Sunday we go up to Minnesota, and then Monday we host the Pacers. So in a span of 5 games in a week in 7 days. So making up for those are all playoff teams.
Yeah, and Minnesota's looked completely different since we got that dead version of them that came into FedEx Forum. Karl Anthony Towns has been awakened. They lost last night because he shot a fucking 3 from half court with 10 seconds left. Like, what are you doing?
From the logo?
Yeah, like the coach has got to call a timeout in that situation. Yeah. But that's neither here nor there. Big week for the Grizzlies. Be on the lookout for more content from the-barnburner.com. I'm at Barnburner Slim. He's at Barnburner Bro. We gone.
See you later.